Hello there. Just getting the live prepared and we will begin. Perfect. Okay. Wishing you a grand day and hopefully everything's going well in your universe. Strong energies as usual. I feel like a broken record that they just keep ramping up and there's always more. So it's kind of making me look underneath a lot lately, and that's the title of this live. What's your why for everything? Why do you get up? Why do you do the work? Why do you survive? Why do you do each thing that you do in your life? And I would love if people would kind of go a little deep in this, because if you're watching these lives, you're probably waking up a little bit and you're starting to question a lot of things. And all of us have a higher purpose than we'll acknowledge right now. We're really deeply embedded in lessons and a cleaning up the 3D experience. But if you're this awoke and these lives draw you, these discussions open you in some way, you have a higher purpose that you're not probably acknowledging. And at least in my perspective of my higher purpose, it's a purpose that I can't even understand in a 3D way. And it can't completely exist here at the 3D level. But at the same time, I had to be fully aware of, understand, whatever you want to call it, of all facets of the why of 3D. And it drove me nuts because I've tried to be 3D, try to have a 3D purpose, try to be a good dad, a good breadwinner, a person that has a good job, has success, leads people, teaches people, all these kind of things, and they've all come up hollow. And you're probably finding a lot of things are hollow in your life as well. Like, I'm not sure I could ever go back to a 3D job where I had a boss that was a pain in the ass and just kept beating me and tried to pay taxes and live the normal life where everybody else gets to decide how much I keep, how much my value is, how much time I can have off, how all this kind of crap. And somewhere along the way, I gave it all away to have a house, to have safety, to have all these things. And now a lot of us are aware that those things aren't even safe or aren't even special or powerful or good. We're starting to see the hollowness in it all and how it was all a construct that kind of kept us in control and running on a treadmill, and we never caught up. We just got exhausted. And then a lot of people call it like midlife crises, but you get to the point where you're starting to see through the illusion, and it's not giving me peace and happiness. It's just got a whole bunch of other problems. Oh, I earned more money and now I pay more taxes and I actually earn less money, and I have a marriage, and there's no guarantee that the marriage is going well, or that people don't have trauma, or that sexuality is happening, or whatever. And then you have children, and then everything gets even more complex. And I'm not saying that any of these things are bad. I'm saying it's part of the 3D experience. We get on the escalator. Everybody has the same thing. It's like, finish school, get a good job, go to university maybe in the middle of that. Once you got a good job, you can support yourself, get a house, get an apartment, get married, have some kids, get a rental property, whatever you want to have, boats, cars, trailers, all these things. And then you get there and all you have is a whole bunch of debt. And none of those things really please you or fill you. They leave you more empty. And then you have less and less time to find yourself, to self-love, to understand what you need. You just get busied out and you never really get to make those decisions for yourself. And then we wake up one day and it's just like, why the heck am I doing this? Who told me? Why am I having to? and we lost track of the why. The why was actually inserted to us as a societal norm. It was how our parents were, how our brothers and sisters are, how everybody is. And a lot of us didn't really have a choice in it. Like, we just got to a point and it's like, okay, well, I got to get married. This feels right, or whatever. And then we kind of inserted into it. For what reason? To please our parents, to meet the definitions, to please our church, to please our pastor, to please our friends, to please all these people. And now we're here and we're in the middle of it, and we're just like lost, and we're like, what's going on? So the why, and actually even the choice of the why, is programmed into us from the minute we're born. And this is normal, this is typical, this is the way it should be, this is what makes us happy, and all this kind of stuff. And I can name lots and lots and lots and lots of people that went all the way through that, and they found out it wasn't. And along the way, we were programmed and broken and told that this is going to make us happy, and this is going to solve everything, and all this kind of stuff. How many people have went into marriages and then they had kids because they thought that would fix everything? How many people got really high paying jobs and all of a sudden they just got eaten, or they got cancer afterwards, or they died or had a heart attack because they gave their all? And that was the way it was meant to be. So we now got to sit back and we got to start looking at it and saying, what's my why? Why do I get up every day? And now, with some of those other things not there, now it's about mastering myself, self-mastery. So going in, how do I deal with triggers? How do I deal with trauma that's showing up? How do I deal with people that are narcissistic in my life? How do I deal with people, or how do I deal with the programming that's going on? Like, I wake up some days and it's like, oh, I'm a failure in 3D reality. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I'm not having a good job, and I didn't stay in my marriage, and I don't have a place that I can host my kids right now because of all this stuff that's happening. So I somehow failed in my parents' eyes, failed in 3D society's eyes, but I don't think so. I've succeeded in a way of seeing that the importance of those things was wrong. And it made me outside of myself, pursuing the house, pursuing the money, pursuing the job, pursuing pleasing my kids, and I could never catch up. It was endless carrot and stick. And now we're sitting here, and geez, I'm out of focus. Now we're sitting here just wondering what's going on. And we can't go back to that 3D reality. We can't go back to that low vibration where you just did and you tried your best and all. Now you got to sit there and say, okay, there's something deeper. What's underneath? Why am I hollow? Why am I angry? Why do I need all those things to please me? Why do I have to please my parents? Why do I have to please my spouse? And it's going to bring up some really awesome questions. And that's awakening. Good luck with that, Jamie, because that's where all this shit is. And it hurts, and it's scary, and it's terrifying, but that's self-mastery. My why has become very different. So my why before was to get a good job, to look successful, to whatever. Well, nobody's ever going to remember you for all those things. You get to the end of it and it's like, okay, well, there's another guy that's going to do that job. The rest of us are going to do that. It gave most of the people that shit at the same time. Well, exactly. But we're moving through it now. We're choosing and saying, okay, my life is different. Well, now to go into a tough situation when before it would leave stuff hanging and then it would come and attack me or hurt me later, I feel so much better in the integrity of saying, okay, we're have a conversation here. And I'd really, really, really love to have the full conversation. Why are you saying that? Why is that? I had a conversation with my parents yesterday, and my mother came out of the blue and said, I haven't brought the kids off enough to see her. And I said, oh, okay, well, they've decided that they can't drive on the road anymore and it's unsafe and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, she put all these COVID rules around, and it was like, I didn't even possibly know how to go within those rules and meet their expectations to let them see my boys. And my boys are teenagers. They're all over 13 years old now, and they've got a life and things are getting important. it's not so easy as the young children anymore, where you just put them in the car and drive up to grandma's and all this kind of stuff. So there was like this expectation that was going to be a rise. It was like, you've done something wrong. And instead I just sat there and I looked at all the facts, and instead of being, oh, a good son, I'll let the whatever, and that's the game that we were playing. And I said, I didn't see any way possible to even bring them. And she's like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. And it's like, no, well, what did you expect me to say? What did you want me to do? And I looked at it and I said, I just reflected back and I said, this is what happened. What would you like to have done different? And it's like, well, I don't know. I said, well, okay, kids are going to be off at Christmas time. It'll be a hell of a lot easier than trying to figure out a time during school and all this kind of stuff. And we'll look at it. But instead of getting like a guilt, like I hadn't done something, and it got all twisted in her head, because grandmothers, that's what they do, is they see their grandchildren and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of times, even when we get together, everybody goes and sits on their iPad and sits in front of the TV and really doesn't do anything. And then I've got that thrown back at me sometimes, that, oh, the kids are too busy with that stuff. And it's like, you noticed any of the kids? They're all like that. So now all of a sudden, this thing that could have been a big trigger and a trauma was now all of a sudden all like me leaning in, because I didn't want to have that old paradigm of weirdness going on where I was always bad and I wasn't doing it. It's like, no, I'm a rational adult, and you put up so many rules. What do you expect? So everything calmed down. Those are the things that I go into now. Conversations with a woman. I will hold space and I will have integrity and stuff that's unsaid. If anybody's watched the live that I did with Bonnie and the Awakening Through Sexuality group, there was a point where there's a whole bunch of stuff that was unsaid, and it was starting to make me not trust. And she wasn't saying some things, and until I could come out and say, and we can talk about it in the live, but are you really divorced? Is all these things that made me question whether that was really happening. And I straight out asked her. I could have just wandered away and said, oh, you're not listening to me or whatever. And I just straight out asked her a really bunch of hard questions, but in a really direct way. Hey, something feels off here. And is this happening? Is this why we don't do this and we don't do that and we don't do this? And this is how it's affected things. And then she came back with her truth. And then all of a sudden the story that was inside my heart that would have speared the whole thing is now clear. And it's like, oh, geez, that was this little boy going on and being scared. And she got called into a level of integrity, but it also made her feel safer, because now I'm asking for what I want when things are under the surface. And it brought out a whole bunch of truths. And now stuff that wasn't said before, or she was holding back because she thought I needed more support or whatever. Now I'm asking her to feel supported by me. What's our why? What's our why underneath? Why am I mad? Why is these things happening? Why am I going into work every day when I hate it? My boss is whatever. How many choices do you have? Oh, well, this virus thing or whatever makes it impossible to change my job, or I'm not double V'd and I can't have a job or whatever. What's your whys? And why is it? Are you being forced by that? Is this a societal expectation, or is it for self-mastery? It's like, oh, this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to choose something better. And then you get to choose something better, and then you become accountable to whether or not you feel bad. It's not like, oh, my pain and suffering is from the environment and the world, and then you're really stuck as a victim in this thing that you're not enjoying. Well, why the hell are you doing it then? But this world will teach us to keep things, to keep people comfortable, to keep people feeling safe, and will constantly please and die a little bit every time. Is that good for us? So what's your why? Is this for self-mastery? I want to feel better. I'm going to make this choice. But if you just sit in it and then expect yourself to feel better, that's insanity. But this world will teach us to do that. Oh, well, it's safe. You've got a house. Everything's going to work out. You're going to whatever. And how many people are things like house poor, where they've got thousands of dollars a month in mortgage payments and stuff like that, when you can go live in a little condo and save some money? Or do you want to have the status with the 3-car garage and 3,000 square foot house? That's where I came from. and it was big, and I had to have furniture to fill it and all this kind of stuff. And it was a nightmare to move. I almost died. What was my why back then? Oh, well, I wanted to look good. I wanted to compete with my ex. Maybe I wanted to look good to the neighbors. Boom, boom, boom. Craziness. So now we're going through layers of inner work. Why are you going through that inner work? Why are you looking at it? Why are you feeling it in your body? Why is it feeling really uncomfortable? Is it possible you came here to work through this heavy shit and it's here in your life as part of your path? This stuff makes me want to vomit on a daily basis. It makes my body so mangled up, the new light coming in and dealing with the collective shadows that I'm processing. Why do I do it? Because I know I can. Some part of me, my higher self, before I came said, you got a strong game and you're going to get some really freaky shit going on in your life to get you back to the awareness that you got a strong game and your self-mastery has been strong. And maybe you've been awakened on several lifetimes and you came here in this top secret mission where nobody can know anything about it to really transmute everything and to go through these hardest things that's nobody's ever survived in a lifetime. So maybe you've got a higher divine purpose. Maybe your why is not about pleasing the world and all this kind of stuff. It's the why is being this powerful, majestic, integral being as we pop out of all this. Your why is being the light when everybody else in the world wants to hack and slash you because they don't want the light because that might make them wake up. And I'm going to tell you, I've come to this peace today. I had a nice discussion with my friend Trish, and I came to this peace. It's like, okay, why did I come here to feel all this pain, suffering, and have all these people attack me and poke at me and say I'm wrong and call me different names all throughout my experience? And partly it smashed me, partly it slowed me down, partly it made me test my integrity. But in every single situation where I went at this, where I wanted to just scream and yell and hit people and tell them that they were wrong, but they were the ones that were wrong and they were projecting all this vitriol that was based on their trauma and trying to project it on me. So I would stop so that they wouldn't have to look at themselves to show that they had big traumas underneath, that they weren't capable of doing the same things. And that's happened to me over and over and over again. And I always thought I was bad or wrong or something crazy about me, but I've learned to become aware right now that so few were willing to be the amount of light that we are being. So few were willing to do that inner work, to look at our inner reflection and then eventually decide that's not my reflection, that's theirs. And my bullshit detector and a whole bunch of other stuff is calibrated like off the charts. And if some of these things show up in my life again, I'll be able to go straight up into their face and say, what the fuck did you just say to me? Because that's not true. And I'm not going to deal with this. And I'm going to reflect back to you what I see. And I see a wounded little person. I see somebody trying to lie to protect themselves because they're worried about all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to sit there and hold them accountable, and they're going to freeze. They're going to not know what the frick to go on, because in the past it worked to just trash people because I'm not as good as them. And if I trash them, then nobody will notice that I'm not as good, or I got a bigger wound or whatever. And it's all bullshit. But I can see through it now. To be able to stand in a world where nobody is happy and nobody is aware of really the depth of the illusion that we have, and then have somebody that shines light and says, this isn't true. You got two choices. Either, holy frick, I was wrong, I missed something, or this isn't true, and my whole life is invested, and I bet on the wrong horse. Do you think they're going to want to accept that? Or are they going to want to just like hack and slash and say, okay, no, you're wrong, you can't be possibly right because my parents told me this, or whatever? Or the other choice is just to surrender and say, holy cow, this person's really light. There's a new perspective here. A lot of times they'll smash and crash, and then they'll find out 2 years later, after they smashed and crashed against me, that maybe there was some truth there. So who's wrong? Is anybody wrong? No, it's just a bunch of little children trying to get people to stop. But but I'm fully okay in being different. I'm fully okay with taking a different path. I'm fully okay with shining light into people and making them uncomfortable. And you're going to love me for that at some point. But right now it maybe feels a little gritty. But that's light. That's God. That's a higher part of each of us to want better for other people by shining light into their stupidity, the words that they're saying, that the beliefs that they're carrying around and carrying like a flag to say that you're all wrong, I'm right, or whatever. It's insanity. But we keep doing it. And we keep shutting down the light. And that's God's light. It's shutting off your connection to God. It's shutting off your connection to self-mastery. It's cutting off all these connections. So why do you keep doing it? Because you're fully invested in the old way that really doesn't work. And the safety is this really struggly pain of fight or flight and waiting for anybody to show up with a tax bill or you run out of money. I don't want that anymore. And you shouldn't either, but I'll sit there and watch. I'll give you compassion while you do it, and you hack and slash and writhe on the floor. Your why has to be about being better. Your why has to be about change. Your why has to be about opening to possibility of something new. Because if you hold on kicking and screaming as this boat sinks, and it is, because you can't get any more darkness in it, and they can't control us anymore to the point that we'll all be dead, your why has to be for better. Your why has to be for change. Your why has to be to compare the past, let it go, and then welcome better. Because I'll tell you right now, yeah, there's two versions of past. That one is like, oh, you get horribly destroyed and killed, which is sitting at the seat of everything. The other is the one that really happened. And now you've given up on anything better, because the one that really happened last time, well, you're a different person back then. That other person was a different person. You exchanged traumas and everybody got mangled up. But now the light is shone in so much more. Your why now should be letting go of that past and expecting better and allowing better. It's like, oh, the woman I'm dating now doesn't have some horrible trauma from her past in sexuality. And I don't have that horrible trauma anymore from my past in sexuality. So maybe something different can happen. But we've seen so many times in the darkness and all the stuff that's manipulating us has constantly shown us that we can't have what we want, except it's changed now. We can have what we want. You need to be that change. So what's your why? Is your why here to sit here and be driven into the ground and retire with no money and eventually die from some disease? Or is your why, holy crap, I've seen it. I've witnessed it, and I deserve better. And that's what I want for you all. That's what I want for me. My world inside is changing, and you're seeing it. You're wondering, well, what's different about him? What's all, whatever. My world inside has changed because I want a new why. My why is about self-mastery. My why is to go into the holes where the darkness is, where things feel uncomfortable, having the hard conversations, and then having better conversations. And I'm not talking hard conversations where I yell and scream at people. I'm talking about conversations where my chest is tight and I'm scared shitless that they're going to get mad at me, but I still have a reasonable conversation. Why did this happen? Why am I feeling this way? Because the minute I get all triggered and all that, I just smash and grab things, and then more trauma comes. So now I don't anymore. I breathe. I take a breath. I lean into my traumas. I lean into my triggers. I lean into my whys. And then I found out why that terrifies me. Why does this feel better than that? Why does whatever? But in the past, we just kind of like feel like we're stuck into a mold and we can't get out. Well, our why is climbing out, changing, making new. So I'm not going to draw this out anymore, but ask yourself those questions. What's your why? Why do you get up every day? Why do you do the inner work? And why is a why important to you? And put some comments in there if you have something. People, these are really big questions, and they'll change you as you start to become aware of the underneath. Because a lot of us are unconscious as to why, and we were told what to do, and it's not working out, and now we're unhappy. So what's your why? I love you. It's a big question, might be scary, but if you can lean into it, it's going to give you gold. Wish you all a very great day. I love you all, and we'll see you soon. Talk soon.